Hi, hello and welcome back to F1 Challenge VB. My name is Mephisto and our epic journey through the history of Formula 1 continues today with the 4th round of the 1955 season, the Belgian Grand Prix. It was held on the 5th of June, it had 16 entries, 13 of them took part in the race and there were 4 retirements. The race consisted of 36 laps completed in 2 hours, 49 minutes and 29 seconds. The lineup at the start of the race saw Eugenio Castellotti on pole, with Fangio in second, Moss third, Farina fourth and Jean Bera fifth. Juan Manuel Fangio won the race, Sterling Moss crossed the line in second, 8.1 seconds later. Farina finished in third, he was 1 minute 40.5 seconds behind. Paul Fred finished fourth, 3 minutes 25.5 seconds later. And Jean Bera gave his car over to Roberto Mieres, who finished in fifth, he was 1 lap down. Juan Manuel Fangio posted the fastest lap of the race, which took 4 minutes 20.6 seconds to complete. We're back in the beautiful Ardennes Mountains for the Belgian Grand Prix, and a lap here starts with a short straight that goes downhill, then up through turn 1 Eau Rouge. Careful as you crest the hill, as it is very easy to lose the car here. Next we come into Lecombe, a medium speed left-hander that has a bit of a bank to it. This should help you maintain your speed. We then come into Malmedy, a left-right chicane that goes up and then immediately drops as you come into the second part of the chicane. As such, you should be mindful of your speed. This leads us onto the Masta Straight, the longest straight on the track, which ends with the Masta Kink. Be careful because the track is quite bumpy here. We then come into Stavelot, a long right-hander that tightens as you go. Start by going as wide as you dare before swooping back in just before the bridge. The next big hurdle is La Carrière, a fast right-hander. Don't go too fast though because you risk going wide and lose crucial time. This leads us into Blanchimont, a fast left-hander. You will need to modulate your throttle through here, so be careful. And finally we come into La Source, the last corner of the track. Start braking just before the billboards, turn hard right, careful with the throttle as you exit, you don't want to lose the car here, but that is a lap around the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. And here we are in qualifying for the Belgian Grand Prix. Unfortunately this is my one and only lap because as much as I tried to improve my time I couldn't, but that was a 4:19.6, a very slow lap, almost 20 seconds slower than current pole sitter Sterling Moss, but again I couldn't find the time to improve at all. I don't know why, but such is life, I guess. Sometimes stuff like that happens. Anyway, here we have the previous Belgian Grand Prix winners. Fortunately enough, we find ourselves among those people. Anyway, here is the grid walkthrough, and we have Sterling Moss on pole, Juan Manuel Fangio second, and Hans Hermann in third. So we have a all Mercedes front row with Maurice Tintignant in fourth and Nino Farina rounding off the top 5. Next we have Eugenio Castellotti in 6th, Piero Taruffi 7th, Jean Bera 8th, in 9th we have Roberto Mieres, followed by Luigi Musso in 10th in his Maserati. Then we have Tony Rolt in the RRC Walker Racing Team in 11th, Paul Frere 12th, Luigi Villoresi 13th in his Lancia, Carl Kling 14th in his Mercedes. Then we have Ken McAlpine in the Connaught, 16th is Chiron in the Lancia, 17th Gonzalez, 18th Umberto Maglioli in the Ferrari, Mike Sparken 19th, Mike Hawthorne 20th, 21st Harry Schell, 22nd Carlos Menditegui, 23rd Sergio Mantovani, Andy Higgs down in 24th, 25th is Hermano da Silva Ramos, John Fitch 26th, 27th Harry Gold, 28th Alberto Uria, Jack Brabant 29th, 30th Jack Waters, 31st Leslie Marr, and Jean Lucas is 32nd. And you might want to keep your eye on Leslie Marr there in 31st, because you might be surprised. But anyway, here we are for the start of the Belgian Grand Prix. I'm quite excited. I always like racing around here, so hopefully we'll have a good race. Generally we do have good races here, with more than just 1 or 2 people finishing the race. As we go downhill now, I lost a couple of positions. We're down in 27th at the moment, but that's okay because, well, the AI is the AI, and we managed to move up into 20th at the moment as we chase after Roberto Mieres in the Ferrari 625 there in front, who has one of the Simcas in front of him, and I believe a Maserati in front of the Simca. But we do manage to move up into 16th, and now another incident on the track, and we managed to move up into 15th for a brief moment, although immediately Paul Frere managed to move in front of us, so we dropped to 16th, but we gained quite a few positions already as we come through Les Combes here. And here we have a replay of the start. A bit of smoke coming off my wheels, but that's pretty okay. As we come down the hill, we see cars trying to find their way around, pushing and shoving just to get the edge on everyone else. We see the Maserati in Sterling Moss's livery. They're kind of lose control a bit, but he manages to stay on track. As we come out of Raidillon and onto the Camel Straight, and here we see Alberto Uria right at the start of the race. He was pushed out, and unfortunately he didn't have any space, drove into that wall, and he is out of the race. As we now see Jack Swatters in the yellow Écurie Belgian. Well, you won't see the color, but he's now upside down. He's in that pile of cars that are trying to find their way, and there he is, upside down and out of the Belgian Grand Prix. So those are the first two retirements of the race, which is quite good considering that generally we see half of the field, well, generally saw half of the field retiring on the first lap in 1955. As we now come around to finish our first lap, and Leslie Marr there crashed into me as I was braking for the hairpin. I don't know why he didn't think to slow down himself and use my car to brake, but because of that we fall down to 20th. So we are now chasing after Jean Lucas in his Simca Gordini, who is almost 2 seconds ahead of us already, so hopefully we'll be able to catch him. As we now take a look at a replay of Louis Chiron in his Lancia coming around, going very wide, hitting the fence, losing his front right, and that is the end of his race. Next we have Hans Hermann in the number 4 Mercedes, who is coming around, crashes into the number 14 Mercedes, and well, that's very bad news for Mercedes. That was actually Sterling Moss, and we see Fangio and André Simon behind him trying to overtake him. Both Simon and Fangio manage to go around. Moss loses control of his car, tries to get back around, but unfortunately Hans Hermann comes around, crashes into him, and well, both of them are out of the race, unfortunately for them. So only 2 more Mercedes left in the race, with André Simon and Juan Manuel Fangio. As because of that, we move up into 19th now, chasing after Harry Schell, who swaps places with Jean Lucas, who decided to go slow, and we are now approaching Harry Schell. Hopefully we can, yes indeed, he loses control of the car and we manage to slip by. We next have Luigi Musso in his Ferrari 625, and we overtake him as well, so we move back up into 16th here on lap 2, which is absolutely amazing. A little bit later on, Jean Lucas manages to catch up to us and overtake us, so we managed to move up into 15th, but then went down into 16th. Lap 4, and we are now up in 12th because we passed a bunch of retired cars. And here we have Maurice Trintignant. We can see here he is coming into that left-hander, loses control of his car. He then tries to get back. We catch a glimpse of Jean Lucas. They both crash, lose wheels. Unfortunately, we cannot see too much because both of the cars are right behind the house, but they are both out of the race. And here we see Jean Berra losing control of his Maserati as he comes into this right-hander. He goes up that embankment and then drives straight into the fence, and out of the race he goes. So yeah, we are now still on lap 4, chasing after Jose Froilan Gonzalez in the blue-yellow Ferrari in front of us. Hopefully we can overtake him at some point. However, I go a bit wide, have to lift off, and that allows Jose Froilan Gonzalez to pull away from us for the time being. On lap 5, as we come through Malmedy, Jose Froilan Gonzalez loses control of his Ferrari and we slip past without any trouble. So we move up into 11th place, and we now have a look at a replay of Eugenio Castellotti, who crashes into, I didn't catch what car, but I think it was a Mercedes actually, and that is the end of Castellotti's race. Whoever was in the Mercedes is still in the race, obviously, because there's no replay. Lap 7, and we're chasing after Umberto Malioli at the moment. He's just under 2 seconds in front of us. There he is. He loses control of the car. I barely managed to avoid crashing into him, and we move up into 6th place. We are almost in the points here, and we see Piero Taruffi. Well, now we see him. He loses control of his car, flips it over, and that is the end of his Belgian Grand Prix, unfortunately for him and for Ferrari as well. As we now see a replay of John Fitch, the American, who loses his brakes, unfortunately, in the worst possible place at the hairpin and La Source, and that is his race over, because, well, you cannot race without brakes, unfortunately. So lap 8, we are chasing after Tony Rolt at the moment. We are still in 6th, and later on Tony Rolt loses control of his car, so we move up into 5th. This is now lap 9. We are now chasing after Nino Farina, who later on decided that he didn't want to race anymore. He's out for just a casual Sunday drive, and we move up into 4th without too much of a challenge. I have no idea why, but oh well. Nino Farina gave up, I think. As we now come around to finish lap 10, and this is Tony Rolt in his RRC Walker racing team. We see Lancia lose control. He backs up. Tony Rolt crashes into the Lancia, loses his front left, and he is out of the Belgian Grand Prix. And there we see the Lancia unscathed, returning to the race. Unfortunately for Rolt, he will have to retire. And next we have Juan Manuel Fangio just coming out of La Source, and what a disaster. His engine gave up and he is out of the Belgian Grand Prix. That looks like a very, very sick engine indeed. We are now on lap 11, the penultimate lap, chasing after Paul Frere. He is in 3rd, and we are approaching Frere very, very quickly, and we saw him at the side of the road there. Not sure what exactly happened, but he is out of the Belgian Grand Prix as well. Here we see Paul Frere coming into Lecombe, loses control of his car, then tries to drive up the embankment there, kinda gets stuck there, and, well, is forced to retire because the AI pathfinding kind of gave up. So with that, we move up into 3rd place. That's absolutely amazing. And here we are on the final lap, coming around, and Ken McAlpine retired from the race, which means we will move up into 2nd place. That's absolutely fantastic news. And here we see Roberto Mieres, who has some problems with his suspension, and there he is, slowing down and retiring his Maserati. Next we have Sergio Mantovani, and we see some white smoke coming out of his Maserati, pulls to the side, and that's the end of his race as well. And finally we have Ken McAlpine in his Connaught. He comes around the Carrière. The Simca there in front of him kind of loses control of his car. They both get tangled. McAlpine also loses control of the car. He tries to get back, but drives into the fence there on the right, loses his front left wheel, and he is out of the Belgian Grand Prix with just a few hundred meters to go. So we move up into 2nd, and Leslie Marr, the one who started from 31st, manages to win the race. Absolutely fantastic news for him. As we now come into the source for one final time, we are in second. I'm not entirely sure who is behind us, but whoever is will take third. We will take second place here at the Belgian Grand Prix. Quite a good finish, I would say. Didn't expected this result, but fortunately we haven't had too many retirements, which means that our place is kind of well earned, I guess. And here we see all the retirements, although Umberto Maglioli did not classify as he did not finish 90% of race distance. And here we see the retirements, well, part of them. There are a few people who kind of finished but are, well, 7 or 9 laps behind. So there are a few people who have finished, but, well, they are 7, 9 or even 11 laps behind, so they didn't even complete half of race distance. So I figured that it would be better to put them in the retirements, although in the standings you'll see them noted as not classified. But yeah, that was a pretty good Belgian Grand Prix, I would say. Unlike all the previous races we had in 1955, at least a few of the AI managed to finish, which is actually good. That's what would be ideal to happen. I wouldn't mind if at least 7-8 people would manage to finish every single race. But yeah, that's what you get from mods. Some are good, some are bad. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the results today. We actually had to fight to get our position, and the most unlikely person managed to win the race, so hooray. Anyway, here are the career statistics, and this was Andy's 46th Grand Prix. His best start is from first, has 3 pole positions, has posted 9 fastest laps. His best finishes in first, has completed 30 races, 28 of them in the points, has won 17 races, 3 of them at the Indianapolis 500 and 1 at the Monaco Grand Prix, has 3 championships under his belt, has scored a total of 188 points, has 16 retirements, has experienced 999 out of 1,285 laps, has 5 bronze trophies, 3 silver trophies, 17 gold trophies, and as an extension 17 podiums. And here is a very quick look at the championship standings. Andy Higgs is still in the lead, and he is, what a lead that is. It is going to be very, very difficult to beat. Although Leslie Marr, Umberto Maglioli, Jacques Poyet and Juan Manuel Fangio all have a chance to win the championship. They could still win it at this point, maybe even Nino Farina, although I'm not really sure about him. But knowing how the AI behaves, it's probably going to be another Higgs season. But yeah, that is it from the Belgian Grand Prix. Our next race is the Dutch Grand Prix, and I'm pretty sure I know what the end of that race is going to be. None of the races there have been particularly good in the past, so well, maybe luck will things will change this time around and we'll have a better race. Who knows? I'd like to see that. To be honest, I really would like to see a good race, but I don't think we will see a good race, unfortunately. But anyways, that is it from this video. That is it from me. Not much else to say, except don't forget to vote for next season's team. Link is in the description. I also have a second channel where I will be playing all sorts of different games. Right now I'm doing a playthrough of Need for Speed Underground, so if you're interested in that, there is a link in the description to that as well. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you all so much for watching. And as always, stay sharp.